I think it's an extremely realistic price target for them to. All right, welcome to Talking Investing. I'm Tom, and as always, this is not financial advice. Today, I want to talk to you about a company called CORZ Scientific, stock ticker CORZ. They are a Bitcoin mining company. We cover the Bitcoin miners quite a bit on this channel, so if that is content that you're interested in, please do us a favor and subscribe and hit the notification bell. Also, if you enjoy this video, please smash the like button and feel free to leave a comment in the comments section below. Also, you will find a pinned comment with a link to our free Discord. We're getting close to 500 people in the Discord, so we would love for you to come over and join us there. So today I want to talk about CORZ Scientific. They put out a press release today with some preliminary numbers, and I want to go through them. I did do a video on them about a week ago because they made a controversial move and voted to end their lockup period early, and that is coming right up. That's going to be this week, March 10th. So that had a bunch of negative pressure on the stock. It is trading at $6.64 right now. I'm near the beginning of the trading day. At the moment, CORZ Scientific is in the green. Most of the miners are a little bit in the red. I think the market liked this update, but I'm going to go through it in detail because based on this update and previous results, I think that CORZ Scientific is drastically undervalued. It has a market cap right now, you will see, of $2.1 billion. So that is less than Marathon's market cap. And remember, Marathon and Riot back in November had market caps in the $6 billion, $7 billion range. I think Marathon got up to $7.5 billion market cap at its peak in November. So it is still right now bigger than CORZ Scientific. And if you look at what CORZ Scientific is doing, CORZ Scientific is substantially larger company than them. So let's go to the press release and see what they had to say. All right, I'm going to just try to hit the highlights here because they said an awful lot of stuff, but some of this is crucial information, and they gave some major updates. They also provided some forward guidance for 2022, so I thought that was interesting, and we'll take a look at that. So preliminary 2021 revenue of $515 million to $545 million. So these numbers are preliminary. They're saying it's going to settle somewhere in between those two numbers. Net income between $50 million and $60 million. And adjusted EBITDA of $225 million to $235 million. This company has grown massively. They did $500 million in revenue in 2021. In 2022, they are going to conduct substantially more business than they did in 2021. You know, they didn't give revenue guidance, but I'm going to say they have the potential, depending on what Bitcoin does, to possibly do maybe $1.5 to $2 billion of revenue in 2022. So this is starting to be a large company. And remember, their whole market cap's only $2 billion. So they could have a 1-to-1 price sales ratio by the end of 2022 if this stock doesn't move up. Expects total operating hash rate of 31 exahash to 40 to 42 exahash. We're going to talk more about that later. And operating capacity from 1 gigawatt to 1.2 to 1.3 gigawatts in 2022. They produced 981 Bitcoin. I think they produced 1,077 last month. But again, there's 3 less days. So not only is there 3 less days in February, but the difficulty rate was up. I think February was the highest level difficulty rate ever for Bitcoin. They increased their self-mining hash rate to 8.2 exahash. So this is far more than double the next closest competitor. In addition to the 8.2 exahash that they have of their own mining machines, they host 7.7 exahash of mining machines. So that is an entire separate line of income that this company has. By far the bigger income stream is the 8.2 exahash mining Bitcoin. But 7.7 exahash in hosting of Bitcoin miners is a massive amount of income as well. We ended the year having produced 5,769 Bitcoin, an operating total hash rate of 13.5 exahash, well ahead of our anticipated 11 exahash. So they finished 2021 ahead of their schedule. So while supply chain was difficult for everybody in 2021, CORZ Scientific actually finished ahead of their schedule by about 2.5 exahash. So CORZ Scientific expects to release fourth quarter and full fiscal 2021 results after the close of markets on March 29th. So these are some preliminary numbers that they're giving us in advance. They will issue their audited financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2021 on March 29th after the market close. So that's about 3 weeks from now. 2022 operating guidance. We believe that we are well positioned to achieve 40 to 42 exahash of total hash rate by year end, distributed approximately evenly between our self-mining and hosting segments. So they're talking about somewhere around 20 exahash of self-mining and 20 exahash of hosting. That is multiples bigger than what they did in 2021. They said we ended the year having produced 5,769 Bitcoins. So that was for the 12 months 2021. To put it in perspective, December they mined over 1,000. So you can see, the first half of the year was fairly small. So they're going into 2022 already doing 1,000 Bitcoin per month, and they are going to grow substantially. They're looking to triple their hash rate from where they started in January or more. So you can see this $500 million in revenue in 2021 is likely to be substantially more than that. I'm estimating they're going to be at about 1.5 billion to 2 billion of revenue in 2022. And that is not assuming some massive run up in Bitcoin. That's assuming that it either stays around where it is or runs up to, $60,000 or $70,000. So then they say demand for our hosting capacity remains strong and continues to exceed our available supply. Our construction and power team is on pace to achieve 1.2 to 1.3 gigawatts of operating infrastructure by year end to continue expanding our hosting and self-mining capacity. Core Scientific's board of directors voted unanimously to accelerate by approximately 4 months the expiration of the lockup restricting the sale of stock held by early pre-public investors in the company. So by enabling early private round investing to sell shares, we hope to increase our traded float, and we believe that increasing our float will benefit our company and is in the best long-term interests of all of our shareholders. Affiliates of the company, including myself, my fellow board members, and then he goes on to list them all, are not eligible to sell their shares under the exemption provided by Rule 144. So management and the board of directors have exempted themselves, but all the early investors are going to get to sell their shares ahead of what was the initial lockup date. Now, this statement that they said makes no sense to me. Ultimately, although it drove the stock price down in the short term, I don't think it has a long-term impact on the company. I think what we talked about previously, their operations and their growth are what's going to drive the stock price. Okay, so February update. I'm going to jump down a little because we've talked about some of this. Self-mining. Core Scientific self-mined operations produced 981 Bitcoin in February, averaging 35 Bitcoins per day, an increase from January's 34.7 daily average, and represents a year-over-year increase of 313%. The company held 7,355 Bitcoins produced from operations. They're producing about 1,000 a month. That number's likely to go up. So very shortly, they will be holding more Bitcoin than any other Bitcoin mining company. They don't yet. Marathon still holds the most because they bought 4,000 Bitcoin about a year ago. Somewhere over the next 2 months, Core Scientific will pass them in Bitcoin held. And an honorable mention to Hut 8, which for a long time had the most self-mined Bitcoin held on their balance sheet. Core Scientific just recently passed them. As of February month end, Core Scientific operated its own fleet of more than 80,000 Bitcoin miners, producing 8.2 exahash. So we talked about that. 8.2 exahash is by far in first place. You can see they have continued growth scheduled for the rest of the year. They're looking to get from 8.2 to 20. So they came into this year at about 6. So at 20, that's more than a triple. And they're looking to do the same thing on the hosting side of the business. So with that said, let's just take a quick look at the chart. This is the Core Scientific 1-day chart, which means each one of these candles represents 1 day. So you'll see today is green currently, and it's still the morning of trading on Monday morning. Core Scientific is up 6% on the day. So we don't know where they're going to end the day today. It's been an extremely volatile day. A lot of the Bitcoin miners have been flipping between positive and negative. Core Scientific today is one of the leaders among the Bitcoin miners. And I think that has a lot to do with this press release. This was a very positive press release. Looking at this big picture time frame, there's not a lot of data to look at because this day is when their SPAC merged and went public. So really, we only have about a month and a half of trading data for CORZ Scientific. And, it's all been in 2022. And 2022 so far has been a rough year for Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. They did actually candle wick down one day on January 24th, which was when Bitcoin hit its low on the year 2022 of just under 33,000. So CORZ Scientific and all the Bitcoin miners kind of had a flash crash there. This got down to $5.86. So technically that's their 52-week low, but I'm really looking more up here in the mid sixes as their floor, because you can see this was just a candle wick for one day. Until Friday, they had never been back to this point. Over the course of this week, there was a drastic downturn, particularly this one day, and this is the day that they announced they were ending the lockup period early. Also, I believe a short report came out on them that same day, so I'm sure that had impact as well. So, that was a double whammy, and the stock went down quite a bit that day and continued to go down because there was a lot of pressure on Bitcoin for the rest of the week last week. They seem to be very undervalued, in my opinion. Now, please remember, this is not financial advice, right? The Bitcoin mining stocks and Bitcoin itself is extremely volatile. Now, we don't have a lot of history to see where they would go. I would point to Marathon and Riot, which got up into the $7 billion market cap range in 2021. So that would be more than a triple for this stock if they were able to get from 2.1 billion up to maybe $7 or $8 billion in market cap. So I think they have a potential one-year price target of maybe tripling or quadrupling. Just to get back to where they were trading on February 9th, which was just less than 1 month ago, CORZ Scientific would have to have a 67% increase in the price of their stock. If Bitcoin can get a little bit healthy over the next quarter, I think it's an extremely realistic price target for them to get back to where they were in February. In my opinion, that's a very low threshold. They stand the potential of running up significantly past this if they continue to put out operating releases like they did in January and February. So to me, the downside risk is not too bad on this. Even if they go all the way back to where they did on the flash crash, that's only about $1 down from where they are right now. And the upside on this one, in my opinion, is large. So those are my thoughts on CORZ Scientific. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video.